Oh man, Bitcoin's going to be hearing from my lawyer because I don't know about you, but this I'm suffering from a severe case of crypto whiplash. So, but yeah, I mean, in all seriousness, aside from the corny intro, it's been a pretty crazy couple of days. Obviously, we saw a really strong pump in the market on Sunday when the market was closed, and then today we've seen an absolutely vicious move to the downside. So if we do go jump right in, take a look at the crypto bubbles, I mean, we can see that this is a bit ridiculous. This is all single day moves. We can see things like Injective down 19%, Trump 19%, Sonic 23%. We can see even the big boys like Ethereum 12%, ICP 13%. We got Bitcoin here 9%, Solana 16%. A lot of the gains that we were seeing yesterday from some of these coins basically completely erased. If we do look on the week, obviously we've got greens kind of here and there. AID is still kind of a beneficiary of kind of that Trump bump from the strategic reserve, but that's about it. I mean, Ethereum down 12%, Bitcoin down 6%, Solana down here very small on the week, about 0.5%. We've got XRP. Let's see if we can find XRP real quick. XRP is behind my picture, but XRP is up 7%. So not too bad there. But overall, we can see that the thing's not looking super great for a lot of the market still. And even just today, I mean, this move down, basically the majority of these crypto projects have kind of given back all the gains that they did see yesterday. Following along with that, if we do look at the crypto fear and greed index, we are sitting at a 15 for extreme fear. So we're back in extreme fear again. If we do look at the past week, we've spent 4 days in extreme fear and 3 days in just normal fear. If we do look at the past month, 1 day in greed, 21 in neutral, 4 days fear, 4 days extreme fear. So the market definitely very fearful right now. Another thing that we can see up here, again, another $1 billion liquidated over the past 24 hours, which is just absolutely wild. I mean, it's just so many people getting absolutely wrecked here. We can see obviously mostly in longs, and this is just because people were getting bullish because we saw that, that strategic reserve bump, and then you can see anywhere between 80 to 90% of longs liquidated. So a pretty decent move there. Also, if we look at open interest, we can see that open interest has really started to climb its way down from total crypto. This is pretty interesting. I mean, this is a substantial move back. If we see here, open interest at about 97 billion. Up here, we saw open interest kind of about 140, 150 billion. So we've seen about $60 billion come out of the crypto market. I think the market overall getting a lot more scared, and we're going to kind of dive into this a little bit in more detail here in a second, but I think a lot of this is due to some of the macro environment that we're seeing. There's 3 kind of really important things that's going on within the macro environment that I don't really think anybody knows how it's going to play out, and so that's why there's so much kind of uncertainty and fear in the market right now. Is because obviously crypto is like the most risk on asset, and so if things don't play out particularly well, crypto's probably going to get somewhat crushed, right? And so I think a lot of people are probably kind of deleveraging, hedging for some of that, potential outcome there. So as we can see, some pretty major moves in the market recently, a lot of volume, a lot of volatility, things moving pretty strongly. As you can see here, most of my positions down a decent chunk right now. But again, these are all very low leverage, so I can stand to kind of watch these move a decent bit before I get particularly worried. It looks like Aerodrome is kind of the one in the worst position. But overall, you can see like a lot of these do have a lot of room to run. And so unless we do kind of start to break a lot of the bull market structure and we do kind of continue further down, things are looking okay for right now. I do think we can see a little bit of a bounce, get to kind of where we were previously, and then obviously these positions will be looking a lot better than what we're seeing currently. So zooming in on Bitcoin specifically though, we can see obviously that really nice move yesterday, and then more than all of the gains that we saw yesterday given back, and we are back at the lows here. We're kind of sitting at this support level of kind of like the 82 to 83 range. Like I've talked about before, if we do break this level, it's probably most likely that we come back down to this previous top here at about 74,000. If we continue to fall below this, then we'll probably see something here kind of like the 72,000 range. And then from there, maybe we see something kind of like the 68,500 if it continues to fall. And then obviously, this was kind of a whole like major zone where we just kind of ranged for about 8 or 9 months time. So we could dip as low as, even kind of sub 50K. We did see a wick coming down here and potentially, kind of still be in this upper bound. Really hard to say what's going on for sure and what's going to happen. As I said, there's a lot of various things kind of going on within the market. Some very, very bullish and some very, very bearish. And so kind of we're trying to figure out what's actually going to win out here. I think a lot of this is people just kind of adjusting their risk portfolio kind of accordingly. We can see if we actually get rid of this thing, we can see Bitcoin kind of RSI moving way back down, and it was actually kind of moving back toward neutral. It is now back down and probably into weak, potentially even oversold here at about it's actually in weak, so it's about 36, 37 right now. Still, looking a little rough. We can see pushing towards the bottom of this Bollinger Band again. So that's kind of how Bitcoin's looking. A lot of the alts looking very similarly. It's rough for everything in the market, as we could see kind of when we were looking at the crypto bubbles. I did have kind of some other things I want to talk about though, because we can see kind of what's going on here. So obviously this is kind of tangentially related to the strategic reserve. This is some more commentary about, some potential reservations about the actual types of coins within the Bitcoin strategic reserve. If you do follow me on X, I also did kind of comment about this earlier today. If you don't follow me on X, I've got all the links in the description below if you are interested. But that's something that I was looking at earlier on today. I wonder about basically everything not named Bitcoin in the US Strategic Reserve. Now, I've seen some people talk about how this is maybe a bad take because the US Strategic Reserve should be forward-looking, and while Bitcoin is maybe the only proven commodity, a lot of these other ones do show a lot of potential strength and potential promise for the future. I just don't know if like a strategic reserve should be speculating on that type of thing. That to me seems like a little bit of a bad call, especially in my opinion, if we kind of look 10 years ahead. Of these 4 included not named Bitcoin, it would be a little surprising, or I guess it would not be surprising at all to me if at least 3, potentially even 4, don't actually exist, or at least in the same capacity and relevance they do currently. Again, that could be a bad take, but that's kind of my opinion. It seems like there's a lot of other people who kind of share this sentiment here. We could see that Cameron Winklevoss is one of them. So I mean that's the thing, right? It's like if you go back and look at Bitcoin, like it's moved very, very well while alts have kind of really gotten trashed. And that's because Bitcoin kind of sits in a category of its own. It's more viewed as a commodity, where a lot of these other ones I would say are viewed as not commodities. I'm not going to say security. I'm not going to say the S word because obviously, that the SEC is looking into things like that. Because that's ultimately, I think, kind of the kind of great debate within crypto right now is, what really do these things do? Because we haven't really seen a ton of like really strong adoption within kind of the crypto ecosystem thus far, right? And so that is something that I do think we need to kind of figure out there. Also, if you are interested, as I kind of mentioned earlier, I am trading on FIMX. If you are interested in trading along with me, or kind of trying it out yourself, anything like that, I do have that link in the description below if that is something you're interested in. I also do have links to Weeks and BTCC if you're looking to do those as well. So like I said, just check those if you are interested. Moving on, after we kind of have some of the speculated concern about including the other assets not named Bitcoin in the strategic reserve, we also have the White House Crypto Summit on Friday. So this could be something that we'll have to check it out. We'll have to see kind of what goes on there. David Sachs is obviously hosting this, or chaired, I guess I should say. And so there's going to be a lot of people there that are hopefully looking to, advance the crypto space, crypto assets, a lot of that type of stuff. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see kind of what we have going on there. Also, we can see that Trump is rumored to be removing capital gains on crypto, which would be awesome. Obviously, it's a joke because no one's going to have any gains left because of some of the recent price performance that we have seen, which I would probably agree with. So far, it's been a little bit rough. And so that's where I kind of wanted to kind of segue into this next explanation of why I think we're seeing some of this and how we should maybe be positioning our portfolio to kind of make sure that we're working within kind of this potentially new framework. So like I said, there's kind of three major things that we really need to be focused on here. Obviously, first one, tariffs. Tariffs are super, super important. We need to kind of figure out how tariffs interact within the economy. The second thing is also going to be income taxes and how income taxes kind of work within the economy. And then the third thing is going to be Doge, or the Department of Government Efficiency. What's important about each of the three of these is they're essentially kind of pulling different levers, right? So if you look at Doge is reducing government spending, in other words, called austerity. Austerity is usually something that is not particularly great for asset prices because you're pulling money out of the system. You're trying to save money. Usually asset prices go up more when you just print free money and everybody gets to use it. Now that we're actually trying to save money and pay down our debt, do a little bit of that. Essentially, kind of the theory there is the money that could have been spent towards growth has to be spent towards paying down debt, which can usually slow things down a little bit. So that's one thing. We also have the tariffs. Tariffs is something that is kind of counteracted a little bit by income taxes because Trump has obviously floated the possibility of either greatly reducing or potentially even eliminating income taxes. Again, it is Trump, so we kind of have to take that on a little bit of a spectrum of like what he said versus what is most likely to actually happen. But that is kind of what we're trying to figure out is like, one, how much can tariffs raise? Are we even going to get tariffs? Is this just purely a bargaining chip that Trump is trying to use to negotiate other items? But if so, how much are tariffs going to actually raise in revenue? And then also from the tax cut perspective, how much money is that going to cost in extra revenues as well? So there's going to be kind of like an up here and a down here. It's just we don't know how up this is going to be, and we also don't know how down this is going to be, depending on what actually goes on in the space. So there's obviously like a lot of kind of 4D chess going on here in terms of how is the market going to react to this? How's the world going to react to tariffs? How is the economy going to deal with reduced spending and potentially, less entitlements and things like that going on? How's the economy going to react to kind of lowered taxes? A lot of this type of stuff is really going to depend very heavily on kind of how the economy can kind of handle all that. Obviously, we're having record low unemployment right now too, so that's kind of something that's kind of throwing things in here. We're in a very, very weird spot with the economy, and ultimately, like the debt is kind of the main problem, and we need to see that debt paid down. And so I think they're kind of working through all different options to try and get that to happen. And I think that seems largely popular within kind of the wider American populace. However, this is usually not good for crypto because if we're going into a period of austerity where we're trying to pay down debt, we're trying to do a lot of that type of stuff, money generally becomes less free, right? I mean, because it's going to pay down debts and deal with tariffs. Sometimes prices go up a little bit, things like that. But a lot of this money is not being actively pumped into the market, right? I mean, it doesn't really make sense to have quantitative easing going on when you're potentially trying to pay down the debt, right? So there's a lot of these different types of things that kind of are working in tandem with each other. And to be honest, like I think that's why the crypto market has been so volatile recently. No one really knows what's going on. And that's why we saw such a violent pump yesterday and such a violent dump today, is because nobody really knows what's going to happen. And so I think people are essentially trying to speculate and place their bets accordingly, in line with kind of what seems to be the most likely outcome based on the information we have at that point in time. So obviously, I mean, this is kind of investing 101. This is what people are always doing at all times. So we just have to see, kind of how it unfolds. I'm overall, I would say if I had to take a stance right now, I would say my opinion has changed slightly into probably short-term bearish, long-term bullish. I'm not bearish enough to actually sell anything. I'm kind of like moving on. I'm basically limiting or restricting my buys to pretty much Bitcoin only at this point in time, just because that's the only one that I have kind of really high conviction in long term. I am going to be releasing, I know I said I'd have the ETH Denver recap out this morning. Obviously this video was a little bit more time sensitive, so I want to get that out first, and then I'll have that ETH Denver video coming out this afternoon. But there's a lot of things that kind of came out of ETH Denver that have me kind of adjusting my thesis here to pretty much limiting only to Bitcoin. So anyway, we'll talk about that a little bit later this afternoon, but I just kind of want to give you my thoughts and kind of go over what is happening and why things are happening the way they are currently in crypto. Obviously, we saw the stock market sell off a little bit as well today for the same reason. People are kind of trying to, I think, just generally de-risk, because this is kind of a grand experiment a little bit, so to speak, just trying to like kind of mess around with a lot of this type of stuff and just see how it works. I mean, usually, you know, when a lot of this type of stuff happens, we're kind of pulling one lever, seeing how that works, and then, you know, kind of pulling the other, see how that works. This is like, you know, we're kind of pulling like 4 or 5 different levers all at once and just kind of seeing how it goes. So anyway, hopefully you found the information in this video useful. If you did, like I said, you know, a like and a subscribe always really does help me out. So if I did earn it, just go ahead, drop that like and that subscribe. And then also, if you have any comments, questions, any things like that, thoughts, I love to hear all of them. I do read and respond to all of those. So if you have anything that you want me to see, that'd be another great way to do so. So anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one.